Hey friends, welcome back to revhardgarage. We are working on another, what started out to be kind of a, kind of a medium project, balls to the walls project. I mean, let me just get into it, all right? Working on the 2000 Toyota 4Runner, as you can see. And at first, we were just gonna do a few suspension components to get the alignment. And as you can see, it has kind of turned into a major project. So we are doing all the bushings, upper and lower. And obviously I did get started. Let me grab my chair here and sit down and tell you how it's done. All right, so basically I went ahead and started on the passenger side and kind of like had to tear a bunch of stuff apart. So where I'm at right now, skid plates out, the rack and pinions actually unbolted, and it's just kind of hanging up under there because I had to move it to get the lower control arm off. And I already got the bushings changed out in the lower control arm and the upper control arm. As you can see, the new bushings in there, which I will I'll show you that catastrophe when we get to do the driver's side, because that's actually kind of like a nightmare. For some reason, Toyota pressed these from the outside instead of the inside, and they're very difficult to get off. You know, which I'll explain that later. But they are, you know, it's almost impossible to put some kind of tool in there from the inside. So, you know, this is shaped like a U. That's shaped like a U. Two U's don't make a right, if that makes sense. You know, if you put the tool in here to try to press the bearing, it's in the way of this. Most of them you can press them out from the outside in and then put them back in, and this is not working here. So anyways, so got to working on that. Then I noticed that the outer CV axle boot's got all these little dry cracks in it. It hasn't quite split yet, but we're here, and it would be kind of dumb not to go ahead and take care of that. I hope there's a showing up on camera, but it's all dry cracked, and it's right on the edges where it would break, and it is actually worse than it probably looks on camera. That's all I can tell you. Got the inner and outer tie rods, and as you can see, the old boots have seen better days. So that's what's in these boxes, is the boots for the steering arm. That's obviously a CV axle boot. And then in the midst of checking everything, and I took the wheels off and went ahead and put those outside. Found out that this wheel bearing's leaking over here. And so everything was like full of grease and all that good stuff. So I had to order a kit, which, you know, that'll be something else we'll get into. But this whole thing comes out in one piece, and then you gotta like press sleeves and a reluctant ring and a bearing, and there's like an outer seal and an inner seal, and it's real fun. I'm just, you know, not something I was expecting to do. So that's, yeah, something else. I got new springs for the back. I put one in just to kind of test the ride height on it, and I am still gonna have to make an adjustment with the spacers, which there's not actually a spacer in there right now, but I think I'm gonna have to put like maybe I'm gonna say about 2 inches of spacer in there with the springs, and that way it'll stop bottoming out. So, because that was one of the main issues, was the old springs were weak, and you had a good enough bump and that thing would bang up against the other spacer. So but anyway, all the rear suspension, I've got a energy suspension kit here. It's got all urethane bushings and everything for everything in the back of the truck. So it's this kit right here. Box got kind of dirty, but that's like everything in the back. So got that going on. I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but upper and lower ball joints on both sides. So that's what the lower looks like on these. That's kind of like the steering arm and the ball joint all together there. These are the lower control arm bushings, and then obviously these are the uppers, the smaller ones. So here's your inner tie rods which we're going to tackle that here in a few minutes on the passenger side. So there's your inner, and this is your outer tie rod. That was easy enough. Got the passenger side done. I kind of skipped filming some stuff because, as I mentioned before, I mean, it's just super hard to film and work, and you know, I was having a fight with stuff like the CV axle. I could not get the constant velocity joint to actually come off the shaft. There's like a spring-loaded little ring in there, and for some reason I couldn't get this one to pop. And I don't have like a real jig for that, you know. It's just kind of like, you know, I got usual ways that I can pop them off, and it just wasn't having it. So what I ended up having to do was take the other end off, because if you've worked on CV axles before, you know that the inner joint, you know, it's just got the 3 bearings that slide inside the cup, and so you can take that boot loose, pull it back, and the end just comes right off. And then there's a snap ring and another snap ring. You can take all that stuff off. So that's what I did. I just took that side off, slid everything off, cleaned everything, and I ended up repacking both of the joints and putting the new boot on, and got everything put back together. Everything's tight, tore it down, and this is what it looks like. So I'll recap this side. New upper ball joint bushings on both sides. Of course, that's torqued. I got new ball joints, upper and lower, end links. You saw the inner ball joint, and you know, putting the boot on, and of course the outer tie rod, and CV boot. You know, it's nice and soft and new, so hopefully that'll last for a long time. And of course, I got new grease in both ends and all that good stuff. So that thing's basically been repacked. Everything was nice and tight, so I'm not worried about that guy at all. But anyhow, oh, and of course the lower bushings back there in the back. Let me move this light down here so you can see the new bushings back there on both sides. That thing was a real pain to get back in the frame. The new joints were kind of like a little bit too wide, like they're pushed all the way in, but the rubber part was just kind of tight. So what I ended up doing was kind of starting this side over here, and then this side I actually put my floor jack up under it and just kind of put some pressure on it and tapped the upper side of the joint with a hammer just enough that it caught behind the lip, and then I raised it up with the jack and popped it in there and got all the alignment stuff back in there. And I had previously marked all the alignment points with the marker, paint pen marker, so the caster and camber is going to be where it was when I took it apart. Alright, now that that extremely sketchy crap's over with, the rest of it's pretty straightforward. So you can see we got the ball joints out, and I mean pretty much, I gotta tap these with a hammer just a little bit, but you can see we got them busted loose. So, and they're just barely in there. It wasn't worth setting them back up for. So I can just tap them a little bit with a hammer, get them right out. And I showed you earlier, but there's the new ones. So these will press right in place of the other ones, you know. And then that's pretty much it for this. I'll probably pressure wash it like I did the passenger side. And then we're gonna unbolt the lower ball joint and press the upper ball joint out and the new one back in. So I'll show you guys that too. But right now, if I can figure out somewhere to put my camera, probably right here. This is my new camera holder. The base fits right in there, and it just works. And then instead of like a tripod where I'd have to stop when I hook the camera, I can just pick it right up, do what I gotta do, put it right back down. So that works out pretty nice, and it was free, sort of, pretty much, because I already had it. Alright, so got my master ball joint press kit, got it set up in the vise. They're pretty much made to go in the vise. If you pretty much any vise, I mean it lines up perfectly, clamps down nice and solid. I'm pretty sure it's made that way. I don't know, but it worked great to put it in the vise. So I like to knock some of the rust out of here. I got a ball hone. You could probably use a piece of sandpaper or something. You know. These ball hones come in handy for a lot of stuff. I order them on Summit, but you can probably, you know, probably get them on eBay and Amazon and stuff. Never really looked, but I'm becoming a pretty big fan of Amazon lately. I will say eBay is much better for finding, you know, kind of like random car parts, or if you can't find something new, you're not going to find anything used on Amazon. So you're pretty much stuck with eBay as far as like trying to locate used parts, stuff like that. Anyway, basically you just got to go through your bushings and figure out what fits the best. And I can't remember what I did on the passenger side just yet. But one of these, that might be it right there. I don't know. I used one of these right here. None of these seem to really fit. I couldn't have used this. Okay. Well, hang on. Alright, that was one of the ones that I used actually on the press to knock it out. It actually fits the back of the case right here. So basically what you're wanting to do is support the actual arm, and then the ball joint's got to be able to slide just a little bit past the lip, kind of into this thing just a little bit. So that's basically all we're trying to do. So this will go to the back right there, and then we'll hold the control arm up here. And then on the front, you need to push on the lip. Don't push on this rubber, you know, the part that's supported by the rubber. So one of these cups fits that. This one right here. So we're going to use this one. I think this is what I used. So we need this and this on the front right here. And at some point we're going to need this one. So what I'm going to do first is not use anything at the back. Press it in as far as I can with some retaining compound, which I don't guess you really have to use that, but it helps. It sure does help. We'll put a little bit of retaining compound on there.
Been driving. The one find that outstops people from driving under the influence and causing horrifying accidents. As we all know, but instead of driving into it, as you can see, he decided to park in an already occupied spot. He drove straight in, fell into a ditch, and the two cars parked. That wasn't enough, he also wanted to park properly, so with his drunk mind he hit the gas fully in reverse and ended up crashing into the wall. See, these two men aren't just your ordinary thieves. They came here with a proper plan. Their objective was to steal the car without needing the keys to open or start it. They intended to do so by employing a method called relay theft. This method employs two boxes, one of which is held by the thief standing close to the garage door, so it could capture the signal transmitted by the key. The second thief with the second box is waiting right next to the signal. Could be opened, was driving away next. Turns out these men weren't as clever as they thought, because how on earth would they to acknowledge the security carrying out their heist? This footage relayed that links in finding the culprits, sending them to jail, nowhere to be found. This pregnant woman was a citizen of Brazil, and a few years ago her video went viral online. We can't sympathise with her. She was living a happily married life with her beloved husband. One night she went through his phone and discovered that he was cheating on her with another woman. To get even for the extramarital affair, the distraught lady went to her husband's workplace where his car was parked. She destroyed it with everything she could get her hands on. Her bottling rage got an outlet in the form of his car, which she smashed until it looked like a piece of junk. The furious pregnant woman climbed on the top of the car and continued to defy it, while passers-by watched her. With its wailing sound and trying to get to its rescue destination. But as the signal turned red, the car ahead of the bike in the right lane had to naturally stop. The truck kept wailing to signal the driver of his car that he should switch lanes and give way. But nevertheless, this guy decided to stay put and didn't let the fire truck pass. Despite the persistent siren, as the car in front of the truck dodged and pulled the light went green. The stubborn driver refused to move even after the truck gave warnings asking for passage. It wasn't until the cars on the left decided to help out and the one in front drove ahead, and a few of the others the stubborn driver, however, was still as the world's most heavy and stupid driver. He do learn some maths when he sees this video trending on the internet, people condemning his childish behaviour. This man named Ryan Farrow was having a great day in Toronto when he decides to walk into a coffee shop and get himself a beverage to go. On his way out, he saw this woman. You can all see the footage. She was carrying 2 drinks in her hands, but that wasn't her offence. Ryan quickly noticed that she was parked in a handicapped parking spot while being completely healthy and able. This ignorant behaviour by the woman annoyed Ryan, and he asked her whether she was disabled and what had inspired her to park in a handicapped spot if she wasn't.
Are you handicapped? Well, what makes you so special that you can park in a handicap spot?
The woman was a true Karen because she showed no remorse for violating the rules and just got into her car. But when Ryan's continuous questioning and badgering didn't stop, she finally took offence and reacted. Luckily for Ryan, he was filming the whole fiasco.
Special that you can park in a handicap spot.
Fortunately for her, Ryan was very persistent and wouldn't back down, so she finally reacted by throwing 2 hot coffees she was holding at Ryan. This footage quickly went viral on the internet. Ryan, however, decided not to press any charges for assault, but despite that, the authorities paid her a visit to remind her of the basic rules and regulations of public conduct. Although Ryan ended up with a scalded face and neck, he can sleep with a clear conscience as he stood up for what is right. In this village located in England, the strong man was provoked by some innate evil force while he was walking around. When he noticed a car parked in front of a house, he decided to take it. He knew this would become one of the most embarrassing moments of his life and trend on the internet. He grabbed a brick and tried to smash the car window, but unfortunately, the brick hit the metal sheet and recoiled back, hitting him hard in the face. Funny, right? The thief wasn't expecting this after. Later.
Simple. Let's move on to the lower ball joint. And actually the lower ball joint is probably the easiest thing to do on the whole truck, probably. So there you go, there's a good view of it. Look at that shiny new part. It's definitely the easiest thing in this whole job. Look at that, lower ball joint is done. Let's spin this around to the upper. See if I can get us a view of that one. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. Now we got to get the boot off. Need a flathead screwdriver for that. Simply gonna pry this boot off. It's kind of got like a little metal lip inside of it, you know, that you got to kind of pry off of there. There we go. Kick that over to the garbage can. And then we've got a retaining clip up here on the top, right there. So I'm gonna require both hands for that. Oh yeah. This time, maybe this time. Nothing special about this thing. It's not tight. There's nothing unusual about it. Not having to destroy it, bend it, all kind of good stuff. She's coming off. I promise you that. This is very untraditional. Let's just hope that I can put the new one on. That would be helpful. Alright. Let me see if I can figure out some kind of combination of these stupid tools to push this thing out of here. Yeah, sorta. Here we go. Probably ain't even gonna work. No torque. I think it just moved. Yes, it did. What a pain. Look at that. I bet it's hot. It's not hot right here. Help me understand. Okay, it's moving now. Let's see what happens this time. That works, I guess. Okay, I got the new clip on here. away from the camera for a few minutes, kind of get the garage cleaned up a little bit, get rid of some of the trash and some of the old parts around the box right here. But anyway, I got the truck cleaned up, the 4Runner, and got the wheels put back on it temporarily. I'm gonna go ahead and take it and get the 4-wheel alignment, get the wheels balanced. I went in and got everything cleaned up, as you can see. Pressure washed the bottom, and much as I could, got everything cleaned up. So anyway, we're gonna go get it later on. So once we do, then we're gonna go ahead and work on some of the stuff in the back. I went ahead and put the new springs back there, and I still got to do the bushing and stuff, but basically that stuff shouldn't affect the alignment. So we're gonna do that after we get it back from the alignment. But basically, I just had to get the shop cleaned up, and real quick, I had to start working on transmission. So got one tour apart to make sure I got everything I needed, and yeah, so that's where we're at now. Always a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, see y'all in a little bit. Alright guys, I got the 4Runner aligned, and they told me that they couldn't balance the tires. I guess they, I don't know, tried and couldn't get them to zero out. So I'm gonna put some tire beads in the tires right quick. Anyway, basically what we're gonna do is, you can find that seam, and like I said, you're not gonna be able to see it on camera, but it's right across the bag right there. So I'm gonna stick this inside of here and pop it, and basically just dump all the beads out inside of this bag, so that way we can use it to pour into the bottle. I know it's kind of hard to see probably, but these beads are it's just a ton of little tiny white or clearish looking beads. Hopefully it's coming out on camera, but they're pretty small. And so this is a 6-ounce bag. But anyway, we're gonna take this bottle, and I'm using a little funnel. If you don't have a little funnel, I'm sure you can get it done without it, but it sure does help. So we're just gonna pour these into the bottle real quick. And I'm sure you can tell kind of by the light and the sound and everything how small these beads really are. It's amazing to me how heavy they are, considering how tiny they are. So now we've got the beads in the bottle, as you can see, and we're going to put the top back on the bottle. And so that's ready to go. Now the next thing we're gonna do, I've got the tire up off the ground so that I can rotate the wheel, and you want it down towards the bottom. And you gotta be kidding me. Yeah. Alright, so I've got the wheel off the ground just a little bit, and got the valve stem at the bottom. And so we're gonna remove the existing valve stem cap, and we're gonna use the little tool to pull the core. So you just unscrew the inside. It's just like a little screw that goes in there, and that's all there is to it. This little tool just kind of grabs onto that sleeve component, and you can see the threads on there. So we're gonna let this air down real quick. And you can actually see from the pressure, it actually formed like a little layer of frost on there. And so you want this to be super dry when you're trying to put the beads in. So you can either just wait a little bit for it to dry, or take a hair dryer and blow on it a little bit. I'm just gonna take some compressed air, and I'm just gonna kind of blow a little bit on the inside and around the outside just to make sure it's dry. And that helps a lot. I found out on the first tire But and then the other thing too is when you get done putting the beads in, I'll show you in a minute, but you want to blow some air kind of through there to make sure none of them are caught in the threads, and then we'll screw the valve core back in. So now that we've gotten to this point, this tubing has been stretched over this cone for a little while, and so I'm going to flip that over, and the stretched outside I'm going to actually slide over the rubber part of the valve stem. And your valve stems may be a little bit different, but the regular rubber ones, you know, you want to get a little bit of an airtight seal right here, because as you're squeezing the bottle, you want the air to move between the inside of the tire and the inside of the bottle, not the other way, or else it won't really work. So basically you're just going to squeeze it like this, and you can get the air transfer, and you just want to tilt the bottle just enough to get a little bit of beads in there. See how they're kind of tumbling in there? And so basically you're not pushing the beads into the tire with the bottle. What you're actually doing is pushing air into the tire, and then as the air comes back into the bottle, the beads flow into the tire. It's kind of a little bit hard to explain, but that's basically what's going on. The beads aren't just gonna flow right in there like water, you know what I mean? All right guys, I went ahead and pulled the right axle out of the rear end. This is the one that the brakes are full of oil, you know, rear end oil, dope. And so I've got it pulled out over here, and I went ahead and got it cleaned up, got it pressure washed, all that good stuff. Got the brakes cleaned up. They were pretty new. They don't have very many miles on them, and so they're gonna be fine. Like I said, I got everything all cleaned up. It looks like new. Brakes look good. The inside of the drum looks good, so we're good on that end. The story behind this is that somebody had, and I don't remember who because it's been a few years ago, but somebody had actually replaced this wheel bearing and the ring and all that stuff, and you know, so then I actually put all new brakes on it, you know, a little while after that, and you know, it was assumed that the brakes just never really got cleaned up after the bearing and all that stuff. The seals were replaced, and so we just put new brakes on there and let it ride. And come to find out, when I started taking this thing apart, the brakes were full of oil again. So it was pretty evident that they, you know, it was leaking the whole time basically. And now that I've actually gotten a look at this thing, I know why, and I'll show you. So whoever did this, first of all, there's nicks all in this thing. This is the ring that actually rides in the seal. And here's all the new stuff right here. That's the outer seal. But this inner seal is what's inside the rear end. And so basically, that's going to ride in there. And it's got to be in a certain position for it to actually, you know, seal in there. And you can even see, if you look close on the axle, the top of that thing originally was somewhere in this area. And there's no witness mark or anything on this ring, you know, where it was riding. And so that tells you that this thing is pushed too far down and it never sealed, ever. So basically fluid didn't come out until the outer seal started wearing out, which is this. And this isn't really meant to hold oil. It's just a kind of like a dust shield, you know. And so oil started coming back out of it, filled the brakes up with oil. So, and then the other thing that's kind of crazy, and I'm sure it'll come out on camera, but if you get it the right angle, you can see that that ring's not even straight. Like on that left side right there, you can see that there's a good bit more of a gap than on this side. I'll try to zoom in on that, see if we can get a good shot of it, but the ring's not even straight, let alone the fact that it's pushed down too far. So that was never engaged with that seal. So anyway, I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of way to get this off. I ordered a whole kit because I didn't know what was going on. This is the new wheel bearing. You know, I'm gonna look at that one and see. I mean, everything looks brand new as far as the like the bearing and stuff. But you know, obviously I got the whole kit, so I'm gonna try to go ahead and put everything in there. But anyway, it's gonna be tricky because there's like a special tool, I guess, for it. But I was digging around and I think I'm gonna be able to kind of make something. All I gotta do is drill a couple of holes in this thing and put some nuts on there, and I can actually use the hydraulic press, you know, hang it on this and push the top of the shaft down, and that'll pull everything apart. And then I was able to find transmission parts for the Win again, but this reaction gear is actually pretty much a perfect fit for pushing the bearings back down. And then this spacer out of my kit actually fit pretty much perfectly over the outside of that gear and rides on that ring. Like it fits snug enough that it stays together. So putting this stuff together should be pretty easy, but getting it apart is going to be another story. So I'm going to have to, you know, I didn't want to spend, you know, a couple $100 on a tool that I'm probably never going to use again. So I'm going to get creative here and see if I can just put something simple together. I've got this little drive shaft right here. It's a steel drive shaft, so I may cut something off of this and use some other metal and stuff that I've got and just try to make like a little, you know, like a little puller thing so I can go ahead and pull this stuff apart. It shouldn't be too complicated. I mean, at the end of the day, basically we're just wanting to hold this guy right here, the actual, I don't know, hub or whatever you call it, and we're just pushing the axle out of it, and this is going to push all those rings and everything off of there. So the only thing I've got to worry about is somewhere under there is a snap ring. So I'm gonna have to see if I can figure out honestly if it's even in there, and then get that out, and then I should be able to just pull this stuff right out. So anyway, once I get this figured out, I'll get back with you. Well, it's kind of smoky in here, and it's cold outside. I might have to open the door. That sucks. Anyway, I just welded up some scraps. I had some transmission parts and some tubes. That's part of a drive shaft. That's like a part of a lift kit, something like that. That's another transmission part. So anyway, I think this is ready to put in the vise and try. So hopefully it's enough to pop the bearing out. We should have plenty of clearance in here, I hope. So we're gonna go ahead and try it out. How tight is this bearing, dude? It's just a wheel bearing. Man, that's a lot of pressure. That is pretty tight. See which one explode in a good way or a bad way. Make sure my nuts aren't turning towards it. Don't die. That felt good actually. Dude, that was so much pressure. Yeah, baby. Oh, that had me nervous for real. Surprised I had this much room. Go ahead. Add a spacer so I don't stretch my springs out too far. Boy, not even any slack. One less pump and I would have had to go back down. I don't know how well you can see. Hell yeah. Man, that it feels pretty good. That was way tighter than I thought it would be. But you know, my little thing held up, so that's cool. Very cool. There's not actually supposed to be any oil in here at all. belt. Gotta go down, get it straight, hook it back up, like that. There we go. See, that's pushing on that toner ring. And on that one, all I gotta do is bottom it up. I've already did this like 4 times. Like every piece, I like have to like pull it out, slide the thing on there, put this shit on it, put it back in. I don't know why the other guy couldn't do this. Oh yeah. Got that snap ring there. Yeah, that toner ring's pretty tight. Damn, boy. So that's now I gotta get a measurement. There's a measurement from like the face of this, right to the face of that to the top of the ring. Now I know it's gonna be probably about right there, I bet you. I'm gonna see if I can find that measurement. Alright, I'll skip forward a little bit on the axle. Got everything put back together. And actually I've driven it several times. Probably put, I don't know, probably 150 miles on it or something like that. And everything's really good with the rear end. As I was putting it in, I did make sure that the, you know, the spacer that the seal hits, you can actually put like some grease on it, slide it in there, spin it around, and slide it back out, and you can see where the contact is on that thing. So where I had gotten it on the first try was actually just perfect. So like I said, I got all that put back together, which there's nothing to that. You know, you just slide that thing back in. It's got 4 nuts on it, and hook the brake line back in, and the little e-brake bracket on the back. And I mean, that's all there is to it. And of course I did bleed the wheel cylinder, but basically no air came out. As soon as I unhooked it, I blocked it off and everything. So that worked out pretty good. So moving forward, I don't even remember actually if I mentioned this before, but the driver's seat was broken in this thing. So I went to pull apart the other day to get some parts for the my son's Mustang, and I went ahead and grabbed some seats. And it took a little doing, but I got the driver's seat done. And of course I didn't want to film any of that because that was kind of like figuring it out, trying to figure out what direction I was going. This is the stock seats. And this one actually isn't really that bad aside from the padding is just completely gone. But frame wise, this side's fine. But that side over there, I mean, that seat had broken several times. It's been welded and patched, and I just finally got tired of it. So these seats are out of a, I think it was a 2015 Altima, or it could have been a Sentra. To be honest with you, I'm not sure because most of the car was gone. But the seats were actually pretty nice. And I was looking for manual seats. I didn't really want power or any of that stuff. And so here's what the passenger side one looks like out of the car. It's a little bit dirty. I did clean the driver's side one up. And once I get this one in, you know, I'll clean it up too. But it's very extensive to make these things fit. Basically cut the whole entire bottom off of this seat, the whole entire bottom off the stock seat, and then you just kind of got to weld it all together. And of course I spent a lot more time figuring it out on the driver's side because, you know, I wanted to make sure the placement was right and all that good stuff. And the cool thing is, I was able to kind of modify the placement of the seat a little bit. So it sits about 1 inch lower, and it'll actually go back about 2 inches further than it did stock. I don't know if any of you guys have driven these 4Runners and you're big fellas like myself, but they're not extremely comfortable, you know, the stock seats, as far as placement. You know, it pretty much puts your put your knees right up at the dash and everything with the seat all the way back. So that is a welcomed improvement. And I don't even know if you can really tell. Maybe you can, but you know, if you kind of compare this part of the seat to that part of the seat, I mean, you can see it's back about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. The headrest's a lot better. The padding's firm. You know, so I mean, it's just a really nice, comfortable seat. And of course, it slides and reclines. And the other cool thing is the seatbelt latch is a lot taller. I was able to mount it differently, so that makes it a lot easier to get the seatbelt. These are kind of way down in the corner, and you know, they could be a little difficult. Like I said, if you're a big fella, it's just fat people problems, I guess. But anyway, just trying to make it more user friendly, I guess you might say. Anyway, I'm about to snatch this passenger seat out and just start tearing into it. It should be pretty straightforward on the passenger side because, like I said, I already spent a lot of time, I'd say probably 6, maybe even 7 hours working on the driver's side, just because I wanted to really make sure that the placement was good, it was straight, level, all that good stuff. So now that I've got that figured out, this passenger side one should go pretty quick. So I might time lapse a little bit of that, but it's kind of hard to film that stuff, but I'll do my best. Got the lower rails bolted onto the floor, and I sat the new seat, you know, highly modified of course, onto that frame. Got everything kind of positioned where I want it. You can see the seat's level, and I measured everything. It looks straight. It's sitting just like the other side was. And so all I gotta do right now, throw a couple of tacks on the rails right here in place, unbolt it from the floor, and do a full weld out, obviously outside the car. So a couple of things I had to do is I got the stock sensor from the seat. This is like the weight sensor for the airbag, and the harness that goes with that. So I'm gonna have to implant that into the new cushion, which should be a piece of cake. And I already got all the other stuff out of the replacement seat. That's the bottom I cut off. There's like a harness and some kind of weird like air sensor for the seat. I guess, I don't know, some kind of like pillow, sealed pillow air thing, sensor for your weight. I don't know. Nissan. They even had a passenger control module. I don't know. Took all that stuff out. All of it. Basically stripped this thing down to right now nothing. And so once I get this thing welded, I'll put that new sensor in the cushion, put the cushion back on the seat, and I'm going to actually use the Nissan seatbelt. This, I guess the female seatbelt latch, I guess you would call it. I have to modify it just a little bit and then bolt it to the side of the seat. So, and then I'll change the wire from the Toyota plug to this one for the seatbelt. And at that point, I'll be pretty much done. I gotta clean the seat up. So let me tack this thing into place, and then I'll pull it out and weld it up. All right, got the seat finished up. Pretty much came out like the other one. And yeah, looks good. It's comfortable. I actually just tested the seatbelt lights and the airbag switch and all that stuff. So basically on these, you got this passenger thing that flashes right here. And if you put weight on the seat, it lights up and like flashes the seatbelt sign so somebody can put their seatbelt on. So tested that, tested the driver's side, so that wasn't really too bad, honestly. So, and I actually like the way the seats look. They look a little more, I don't know, modern, I guess, if that makes sense. But anyway, so that's good to go. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for the Toyota 4Runner. This video is super long. It's probably gonna be at least an hour, really close to an hour. So hope you guys enjoyed the footage. You know, I've been filming that video for, I don't know, like 2 months probably, off and on. So you know, we got it done, you know what I mean? So anyway, I guess we're gonna move on to the next one. So got this one back in the garage just to try to finish it up. So runs good, all that good stuff. So y'all stay tuned. Appreciate you guys watching. If you made it this far in this Toyota 4Runner video, you're hardcore. I appreciate you. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. See you later.